Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to take a look at how to set up a data validation list in Excel. So let's load up Excel. I'm using Excel 2013, however the process will be the same across all versions of Excel. So I want to do an example here which will be a task list. So let's have a look on DuckDuckGo very quickly for some inspiration. Task list. Let's type in Excel task list. Alright, let's have a look at what we've got. This one looks fine. We're just going to use it for some headers. I could have prepared this earlier, but to be honest I quite like to start things from scratch where possible, because then I can show you how easy it is to quickly knock something together. So we're just copying some of these headers just for no other reason than for an example. Right, I think that probably will do. So if you had, let's close that. If for example you had yourself an Excel document and you wanted to store your tasks, you might have headings like, let's zoom in a bit, the actual task, the status, the priority, the date, the owner, and the notes. And so I suppose we could add a validation list for status and priority, I reckon. So let's go ahead and do that and look at how we can do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a proper table. So I'm going to click on Format as a Table, and here you get to choose from a nice selection of different styles. I'm going to go with the same one I always go with, which is this one. Make sure that you click this checkbox here that says My Table has headers, because then what it'll do is it'll use these headers that you've already provided as the actual headers for the table. If you don't click on this, what will happen is the data that you've currently got there, the data that you've provided, will be the data for the first row. So click on this box here and click OK. Great. Let's make it a little bit wider so that it's easier for us to see. Let's go for 30, I think. Oh, that's a little bit too wide. Let's go for 20. Alright, that's absolutely fine. So let's say for example we are entering task 1, and here we want a status, but what we don't want is anything to be added. We want to define a list and use that list as a data validation list in Excel. So this is what I always do. Create yourself a new tab. We're going to call, create yourself a new sheet. We're going to call this sheet lists. We'll call it lists. Or you could call it, for example, data validation or validation. I'm going to call it lists. And what we want is we want a list for status. So type status, followed by all of the statuses that we might want. So let's think of what statuses we might want. We might want not started. We might want in progress. We might want on hold. And we might want, let's say, completed. So now let's click back on our list, highlight the rows, then we want to click on data, data validation, and then data validation again. From this drop down, we've currently got it set to any value, which of course means that we can enter anything we like. We don't want that, so click on the drop down and we want to select list. And then where it says source, we want to click on this little icon here. Now what this allows us to do is select the sheet and then select the values. Once you've done that, click on the button again and then click on OK. Now what will happen is you can't physically type anything in that cell anymore. We get an error, which is good. Let's cancel that. But what you can do is you can select from this little drop down here. So as we are doing tasks, we have some data validation from a data validation list. And again, I'm just going to do another example, although you probably get the idea. Let's say priority, we're going to go back to lists, priority, and we're going to say low, medium, and I don't know, high and urgent. How does that sound? I think that works. Let's go back to sheet 1. And the same thing, highlight those rows, Let's click on data validation again, click on the allow drop down, select list, click on this little icon here, go back to your list, select your list, click on the button again, and then as you can see, by doing this it's created a little formula that tells Excel where the data is going to come from. And then click on OK, and exactly the same thing, we can no longer type anything we like, we get an error, which is great, but what we can do is we can select from the list, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. This is something that I do with a lot of my lists these days that I keep in Excel. I certainly have a little task list very similar to this where I keep some tasks that I'm working on. It's just an easy and convenient way. It may not be the best way to keep or store your tasks, but it certainly is quick and convenient. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, perhaps like the video for the YouTube algorithm, and if you want to see similar content to this in the future, consider subscribing. And until next time, take care.